Here we go. It is the BCJ podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com. Get down Sunday and visit our good friends at the Holy Grail as the Bengals get set to take on the Chiefs in Burrowhead Stadium for another AFC championship. They've got beer specials. They've got great food. It'll be an electric atmosphere. So make sure you get down to the Banks and hit the Holy Grail up this Sunday as the Bengals play to go to their second consecutive Super Bowl. All right, let's get it going. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a better couple days here recently, so that's always a positive. Kelly's doing a little bit better, so that keeps Chad happy.
Excellent.
So yes, that is where we are at the moment with that one. How was the weekend for you, Dave?
The weekend was excellent. I mean, notwithstanding the Bearcats' loss, it was a wonderful weekend. Did quite well in the divisional round playoff wagering. Did quite well in some college basketball wagering, and of course, the Bengals did quite well. So I had a lovely weekend.
Good. I mean, any weekend that the Bengals go to the AFC Championship game, it's a good one for you, right?
Yeah. I was looking at flights to Phoenix today, actually.
You're gonna make the trip if it happens?
We'll see. We'll see.
LA was a bit much to put. No, you went with your dad,
no,
right? That's right.
Yeah.
You went with your dad.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to start setting aside like people do for bowl games. You're gonna start to have to set aside Super Bowl money.
Depends on if they go, how many tickets he can get.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't even remember how they did it last year. If it was seniority, a lottery, whatever. But we'll see. We'll see.
UCF superfan says Dave's going to borrow from the 401k.
No.
Get a ticket.
No. No. That is not a thing that would happen.
You've got enough, right? You got enough to cover a Super Bowl every year.
If there was a Super Bowl every year, I'd figure out a way. We'll say that. We'll say that. My buddy and I, though, we have a big group text of a bunch of friends, mainly guys from Tennessee, and they thought we were insufferable last year. They are not big fans of ours right now.
There's not many people in the NFL that are big fans of the Bengals right now. It's been interesting to watch.
My one buddy sent like a copied a tweet in. It was like top 10 Mel Kiper's top 10 or whatever, and my friend goes, who does he have the Bengals picking 32nd? And and then I have another one that's just like, I hate you so much. He's a big Titans fan, and we basically have told him that like we broke the Titans last year and then buried them this year because they didn't win another game after the Bengals went down there and won.
Right.
So you see a super fan. I 100% disagree. I'm here for every Eli Apple tweet. I don't care. Whatever he needs to do, I think it's hilarious. Like, do your thing, talk your junk. You got to go back it up, but still, I love it. It's entertaining.
What do you and I know the answer. We talked about this a little last night on PTP. Do you embrace the Bengals just going full heel?
Oh, of course. I mean, Ed,
yeah.
Ed and I had a little tweet back and forth where he said he did something and I did the Kobe gif, like more. Oh, absolutely. I think it's that article that Jay Busby wrote today. I think encapsulated it quite well. Like,
yeah, it was a perfect article.
They can try, but I think it would be pretty hard. Like, they would have to just win a lot and do it in like different iterations, have guys leave, bring in new guys and still win. And they would be heel from the standpoint of like tired of them winning. But I don't think, there's not this like central figure that is divisive. Like a Belichick and the Patriots. He mentioned Belichick and like the Patriots either cheating or trying to cheat, and stuff like that. Like, I mean, are you really gonna like hate Zach Taylor, hate the city of Cincinnati? Like,
I think Burrow could be a guy people hate.
I don't really understand why. I mean, he doesn't.
He's cocky.
But not
that's the thing. That actually, UCF super fan. I disagree. I think people are indifferent on Cincinnati. People hate the city. Like that was in the article. Like, what do you hate about Cincinnati? Like that people joke around about their chili.
A very, medium-sized Midwestern town. Like,
right.
It's
the epitome of like flyover.
Right. So.
All right, that's enough. It's enough Bengals. If we run out of juice, maybe we'll go back to it a little bit.
Let's see. We've talked today. Our big pre-show meeting was about how we don't really have anything to talk about. So Sam is helping out with a question on Flory, and then Bob Pulte Chevrolet would like to know thoughts about the Pac-12 not reporting overpay. That's just hilarious.
We'll let you break that down here in a second. Any updates on Flory? What we're going to do today. We're going to open it up to you guys, and this is going to be a Q&A session of the BCJ podcast. Any thoughts, any questions, anything you have that you want to ask of us or have us talk about, throw it in the chat. If you want to donate, you'll get priority. If not, we'll get to it if at all possible. If you ask good questions, you're fine.
Asking questions is one thing. We don't have to answer all of them.
Right. Right.
It's still up to our discretion.
But I'm going to do a little Q&A today.
Because the Memphis game was Sunday. There's not another game until what? Sunday again or Saturday? Saturday. You talked about it multiple times.
Yeah, I don't have anything left on the Memphis game.
3 days after the fact. I was driving for the majority of it, and then didn't see the end because I was watching the Bengals. So like, I don't have a great frame of reference to really give anything of value on top of what you have already discussed, and Aaron and Brent, and
Yeah.
So it kind of, it's not really worth, me spending 20 minutes on a game that I didn't really see much of.
Right. And I don't have anything left to say. Like,
right. So it would just be me talking about something I didn't really pay attention to.
Yeah. Any updates on Flory? Not really. This is going to be one that you guys are just going to have to, trust me that UC is still very much involved, regardless of what anybody else says. And two, the major happenings in this recruitment haven't played out yet. He's taking some visits. He's getting on some campuses. One of those being the University of Cincinnati for the Houston game a couple weeks ago. If there are people saying, and there is a sentiment that is going around, and I know this is where the Florida site publisher said that UC basically has no chance at getting Flory. I laugh at that. Do I think they're going to get Flory? I don't know. Like I said, we haven't hit the point of this recruitment where.
Why would the Florida site publisher?
Because
say that
he's visited Florida and Auburn.
Because their NIL is such in line.
He can't get NIL, Dave.
That's true. He can't because he's foreign, which is just another dumb thing of the whole thing.
Right. So just, I know everybody wants to get this thing done with him, and trust me, nobody wants to get Flory Dunga done more than Wes Miller and his staff. Wes Miller thinks he is a generational big man, and I tend to agree. But there's a lot of things that are still to happen in that recruitment. So as long as you still see him popping in from time to time to take in games or stop down, things are fine. But the Florida guy, that's what's got everybody in a bunch. Somebody asked him on their board, what do you think about the crystal balls picks to Cincinnati? And he said that they were bad info and it's not going to happen. Okay. And I just laughed because then you aren't as dialed in as you think you are. If that's what you're hearing, I would double check your sources.
Right.
And like I said, that's not to say UC is going to get him, but to say UC is not involved is
it's like was it Eric Weddle?
Patently, yeah.
0 chance.
Yeah, the Bengals have a 0% chance to beat the Bills. Oops. Has he been on TV this week or has he been hiding?
Tomorrow he's returning on Up and Adams with Bengals superfan Kay Adams.
I think that'll be a fun one for him, right?
Oh, I'm sure he'll come up with, he'll say something.
Yeah. Well, he's a Raven, right? Like he's a Ravens guy, right?
Well, yeah, but he was also on the Rams last year, so you should know well enough that to say no chance.
Shout out Galactic Fried Chicken. Absolutely. As always, shout out to our sponsor of the nightcap, Galactic Fried Chicken. I'll let you handle the Pac-12 one, Dave. Curious to hear your thoughts about the Pac-10 not reporting overpayments from TV partners and getting caught years later.
I mean, for them, it's not surprising. And I have not. I mean, as anyone who knows me well enough knows, like my mind is one track right now, and it's Bengals. But I do think it's funny that they have to repay $50 million.
Yeah, I'm sure they just got that laying around.
Probably, I'm sure they're just liquid 50 mil.
Because remember what happened when the pandemic hit? Everybody was like, "Oh shit, we spend all of our millions every year, and nobody has any money."
Yeah, and they're still trying to deal with the Pac-12 network and their current contract. It's not great, and making the 50 million. I mean, of course, I'm sure there'll be terms, and they're not going to have to pay out 50 million in cash tomorrow or something. But no, it's I got a good chuckle out of it. I have not read much detail as to what or who or how or why, but it's
there's a sentiment out there.
It's funny
that this happened because if they go Amazon has kind of pushed them to there won't be a partner on the traditional media side, meaning they won't have games. Amazon's not gonna be okay with them having games on.
So Amazon is saying that it's basically all or nothing.
That if they have a secondary, it's not going to be with anyone that has a cable network or.
Well, then that means who else would that be then?
It's a good question. I've heard DirecTV thrown around.
So they'd have stuff on. Well, but what would the channel be on? The Pac-12 network would still exist.
Yeah,
but only be on DirecTV. So you'd
something like that. Yeah,
you'd have direct. I mean, again, I have not read enough. I mean, it was Comcast, wasn't it? That the payments were.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this sounds like a Live Golf thing. They're going to end up on the CW, and and streaming the Friday rounds.
Yeah.
It just. If that stuff's going on and that's coming to light now, that lends me to believe that things behind the scenes are a mess.
Not good.
And Larry Scott did an even worse job than everybody thought he did. And so George K is digging himself out of that while also trying to negotiate a new deal with partners that probably keep going, why do you think we're going to pay you this much?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it is. I mean, what when the Big 12 signed their deal? I mean, that's been how many months ago now? It was the Pac-12 now they can take their time. Then I think it was Thanksgiving. Then it was maybe before the end of the year. Now we're almost into February. Like, is there really any end in sight for that?
You know, there's a problem when you keep hearing, "Oh, it should be done by," and then now you look back and that was 90 days ago.
Well, but that's the thing is, like,
120 days ago.
you can say, like, yeah, well, now there's no other competition, so they can take their time. But that's assuming that people want to give them the dollars that they seek. Clearly,
Right.
they're not,
Right.
or else it would be signed. Like, it's like any contract. If both
Right.
sides were in agreement, then they would have signed it. If Lamar Jackson would have gotten an offer from the Ravens that he deemed, fair and whatever, he would have signed it. So to say, like, well, we're last, so we have as much time as we need, well, then you're clearly not getting what you think you're getting. Because if you did, you would have signed it. There would have been no need to just keep this going.
Right. Let's see what else we got. Seems like Satterfield and the staff are throwing out hundreds of offers the last week or so. Matt, it is an evaluation period, right?
That is this time of year.
So what happens from the end of the national championship game through the end of the month? Coaches are allowed to go out on the road. They're visiting high schools. They're seeing prospects. They're not really able to watch games, obviously, but they're getting in front of as many people as they can get in front of. And that means lots of offers. When you got 10 staff members and a head coach and a brand new recruiting department that are coming from different places, you're going to see a shit ton of offers right now. And then you see what sticks, right? Like, you offer and then you see if they answer your phone call the next time you call. And if they do, all right, let's get cooking. If they don't,
Right.
go on to the next one. So yeah, this is the time of year that you're going to see a boatload of offers. And then again is it May?
Spring practice time, probably.
Well, yeah, but they're not obviously not on the road a ton.
No, but guys are coming here, and a lot of times those are guys you've already offered, and you want to get them on campus because they can't come on campus right now.
Right. Yeah, they can. Juniors can.
I guess. I mean,
they're doing junior days around the country.
Yeah, that's true.
But it closes back. I think February's closed.
Right, because it's
because
it's the other signing day, so they just take away all recruiting, I think, at that point.
Yeah. Question for both of you. Is there a certain style, concept of play, either on offense or defense, that you think the new coaching staff will run that excites you?
Yeah, a running game that is effective. Does that work? Does that answer the question?
What about this running game do you think will be most effective, Dave? Or at least from what
that there is an actual scheme behind it.
I mean, to be fair, they've ran the ball really well for 5 years. They just were bad at it last year.
They've ran the ball. They've ran the ball for yards. I wouldn't say they've ran the ball efficiently.
A lot of it is
even the year they went undefeated. If you dove into the metrics of it, running efficiency was by far the worst part of the team. And Jerome Ford broke a lot of runs and did a lot of things on his own.
He did. He had a lot of those, where if he's even, he's leaving. I'm not mad at him. I need the dog to shut up. I'm trying to work here. Defensively, I just want to see that's you know what I was most excited about when the staff was put together, Dave? Hiring John Tenuta. Because I thought we were you there? I thought we were going to get a lot of third and Tenuta, right?
Yep, I'm here.
And it didn't happen as much as I thought.
We're getting first, second, and third in Tenuta.
Right. So I'm excited. Look,
no, but from
the way football has changed. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was just saying, like, just from the. I mean, I know I'm being like kind of flippant and very broad, but like it felt like we just recruited linemen. We didn't recruit them to a specific skill set, a specific blocking scheme. I mean, you never heard. I mean, maybe it was because I don't know if the question was ever really asked, but like, you never heard anybody, whether it was Luke, a player, a assistant coach, speak to like what are our running philosophies? Like, are we a pin and pull team? Are we a zone team? Are we a gap scheme team? Like, I don't know what they were, and I think that bared out especially this year. Like watching the run, like I don't know what they were trying to do running the ball, and at least I know and can now assess whether it has been successful or not with the way that a Scott Satterfield offense attempts to run the football.
I know there were a lot of people that wondered what the hell they were doing in the running game last year. And how they took a line with as many returners that they had, changed it around, and got significantly worse. So, yeah. Are the people in charge of the Pac-12 negotiations also in charge of the Big 12 schedule?
I don't know what the deal is there. I mean,
I'm guessing.
I mean, I know who we're supposed to be playing at home next year, but
no, you know who we were supposed to be playing.
That's the thing. Is like if I knew it was gonna be different, I would just say. But I don't want to, mess anything up. But like,
I have a guess
because because supposedly, again, rumor, sourced, whatever, like that. The whole scuttlebug around it was that Texas and Oklahoma were going to buy their way out a year early, and that the schedule was the initial schedule was going to have 2023 and 2024 released at the same time, and that is why they postponed it, because they were going to buy their way out. So they were going to redo the 2023 schedule because the 2024 schedule would be null and void essentially, but that all had to be done by the end of the year in order to come in under the whole 18-month tell the league we're going to leave so we don't have to pay an even bigger penalty than we're already going to have to pay. So that's passed. So now I don't know why it's still not out. And they're not the only one. Most leagues aren't out.
Yeah, it's just that they said they were going to be out.
Right.
And
so
trust me. Like, I have been kind of cultivating some sources in the Big 12 just for, future necessity.
Future needs.
And I've had them tell me like 3 different times such and such school is expecting the schedule to be released this week or expecting the schedule to be released next week. And then the day arrives and then they're like, got pushed back again. I'll let you know what I hear. Got pushed back again. I'll let you know what I hear. So this is a situation where there are a lot of people that have expected this thing to be out for 6 weeks now, 2 months now, and it keeps.
Yeah, I mean, I think
getting delayed.
Obviously, people that we were privy to this at Fan Council, and I think that was 2 Fan Councils ago.
Are you still on Fan Council, or did your term expire?
No, it's a 2-year term. I don't know when it actually started, so I'm not. At least it was initially supposed to be a 2-year term. I don't know how that how elections are working. I have not. My campaign finance committee is hard at work, trying to drum up support for re-election.
You can make a donation to that campaign finance committee right here in this chat.
Yes.
A little $sign, and you can donate to Dave's return to Fan Council.
Bid for a second term.
Yeah. Let's see. What do you see happening with the 6 quarterbacks on the roster?
I see some of them transferring after spring practice.
Yeah. Although that is like, I almost feel like if you're a quarterback, and I know like, there are circumstances that change things. If you're a quarterback and you're not in place by
spring
ball,
right?
You're probably going to have trouble finding a home unless somebody had a guy get hurt in spring practice or.
Yeah, because I mean, there's truly not, we dealt with it last year, but there's truly not a lot of teams that are like going into fall practice with a true competition that would be like, let's add someone after spring practice and throw them into this competition because our quarterback situation is so bad.
Well, yeah, and coaches want to see in spring practice, like, get a head start on figuring out who's going to be their starting quarterback. Like, you don't want to go through the summer not knowing, or at least having it narrowed down to like, we're down to these two guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the worst case scenario is like you go through the spring, you're like, man, all these guys suck. We really hope someone transfers.
Stepped up. Well, we hope somebody stepped up in the spring and they didn't. Something like that.
Right, but then they're saying like, we hope maybe someone will transfer so we could try to get them.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like you walk out of spring going, this ain't it. Better go find somebody else.
Yeah.
How would the Big 12? Thank you for the question so far, guys. If you got a question, throw it in the chat. This is a Q&A version of the BCJ podcast. As long as you guys have questions, we'll stay. I do want to get to something from New Heights from today, earlier, Dave, because I kind of love it.
Well, don't say as long as we have questions, because I will not stay as long as you have questions.
Well, I mean, relax.
I have a 3:30 a.m. wake-up call.
Okay. So you're hoping this is a quick one?
Not necessarily. I mean, it doesn't have to be like super, just not exceedingly long.
Okay. How will the Big 12 affect non-football basketball sports for UC? I know the men's soccer program got cut, but it seems like a worthwhile program to maybe feed into MLS. MLS has their own feeder programs. MLS does not care about college soccer, and college soccer did not work at UC.
They will not be adding programs, but to the greater question, they better pick it up in the other sports too.
Yeah.
Like baseball.
Do you think things are an uphill climb in football and basketball right now?
That's probably the two or the, well, I mean, I can't speak to all of them. I can speak to two. I can speak to baseball and I can speak to golf. Golf is doing quite well for UC right now, possibly the best team they've ever had. They had a wonderful, I guess you could call it like off season. They have like 2
We need to get Doug on. Doug is a big fan. We need to get Doug on.
I mean, they were up in the golf, I think, ranks top 30. They were in the top 30, which is a big time achievement. But like Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas are 3 of probably the 10 best golf programs in the country. Obviously, Oklahoma and Texas will be leaving, but like Oklahoma State is outstanding. Everybody else has very good players. Like that, that's big in baseball.
Yeah.
So, those are the
women's athletics is a big deal.
Yeah. I just don't know as much about track and the other swimming and diving and the other sports, but like, yeah, I mean, it's not just a football basketball thing. Like the entire athletic program is taking a massive step up.
Texas is a huge track and field state. Like, there's a lot of track and field in Texas. It's very relevant in that general vicinity. Wonder if the Big 12 members said the incoming program should not get 5 home games in year 1. Well, but then you give them all 5 home games in year 2. Like that's going to even itself out. Yeah,
I doubt all of them were getting that. I mean, they had agreed to a schedule. It's not like this isn't a delay because like Iowa State and Texas Tech were like, no, we don't like the schedule. Like the schedule was made. And then for whatever reason, they did not release it and have not released it.
Right. This one's for you way more than it's for me. Still hearing chatter about Rusty Feth.
No, I have not. I know, and I had not heard anything recently. What I posted on the board was from during the season. I just sources at the time. Granted, that was a long time ago. Different coaching staff, so that is very much what I would call old info. When was that game? The beginning of October.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Late
9
September,
months,
early October.
9 months ago, almost 10 months ago. So I have not had a conversation with anybody since tailgating at Paul Brown Stadium.
That was not 9 months ago, Dave.
Well, you know what I mean. Feels like it. Feels like it.
That was 3 months ago.
I was counting the wrong way.
You were doing backwards math.
Mm-hmm. I'm really good at math.
Anyway. To a point where UC needs to seriously consider a women's basketball coaching change. They're not winning.
I mean, I don't follow it enough to know, but John Cunningham's track record is he is not afraid to make a change if things are not heading in the right direction, and they've kind of this is two straight years.
Yeah, where they have not taken off.
Right.
And with UConn leaving, the belief was there's a chance, and I think there's a couple like USF I know has had a nationally relevant.
Didn't they also
now.
Something that would concern me, and I mean it's not unique to them, but they had their best player transfer out.
Yeah, she was a super senior, and they've recruited other pretty good. They brought in a couple good transfers. It's just not resulting in wins.
Yeah.
And ultimately, this is a wins-loss business. And it doesn't feel like a situation where you can look and say, okay, they're making progress. It feels like they're kind of flatlined.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a good place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of the 6 and 1/2 dozen in the other. Do you bring a coach into a new conference kind of with, again, a step up in competition, or do you start from scratch in a new conference with it, which we saw how that, we've seen how that works too. So
it ain't going to be pretty one way or the other with where they're at right now. It's got to get considerably better for them soon. And maybe it's Michelle Clark-Hurd turning a corner towards the end of the season and piling up some wins and alleviating any doubt, but that has to happen here pretty soon. All right, we don't have any questions right now, so maybe we can talk. This is very, very early stuff, but I have noticed some mock drafts, some player rankings start to come out. So I've seen Dane Brugler of The Athletic. He's kind of their main draft guy, and he is very high on Tyler Scott. He has him in the second round of his, I guess it's his first mock draft. He's got him as the number 7 wide receiver in his rankings. Now you take that and put that up against the Athletic does a consensus big board, basically taking the big boards of 50 different outlets, and he's not even in the top 100, and there's 15 receivers in their top 100. Again, very early, tons of varying ranking levels, but I just thought that was interesting. Josh Wiley was 10th in Dane Brugler's position rankings. He ranked the top 15 of every position. Tight end class is extremely deep this year. You could see, I would be surprised, but you could see 3 in the first round. I think that's a stretch, but let's be honest though. Travis has revolutionized almost single-handedly. There are others, but but
you still have to be
tight end position.
You still have to be of value. The first tight end didn't go until the mid-50s last year.
Yeah.
So you still have to be a bona fide first round, second round pick. I think Trey McBride from Colorado State, I think, was the first tight end taken by the Cardinals at pick 53, 55, something like that. But obviously, Michael Mayer is a surefire first rounder. Darnell Washington from Georgia, possibly. And then it's a deep, deep draft. So 10, again, the season's not even over. You have hey, dog. You have the Senior Bowl. You have Combine. You have Pro Day. A long way to go till April. But, 10th, you're looking at, third, fourth round, I would guess, right now. And then he had Ivan Pace as the 14th ranked linebacker. We've talked a lot about Ivan and just the obstacles that he has transitioning to the NFL and, where teams are going to look at him and see a very unprototypical body composition. And it's going to just automatically, go off. He's going to go off of certain teams' boards that rely more heavily on meeting thresholds, whether it's height, whether it's arm length, whether it's a speed, agility, time, and he'll be best served by teams that just kind of look at the tape and are like, that dude that makes plays doesn't matter, size wise. But again, it does still matter because how many offensive linemen did he go up against this year that are surefire NFL players? And you're getting out there against a Trent Williams or some guy that's 6'7" with 80-inch arms, and at some point
30 pounds that can move.
Yeah, at some point it does matter. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be fun though because you have at least three guys that I think are certainly draftable players, possibly a couple more, but we'll see how things end up shaking out.
Here's the new heights. Well, let's see. We've got
Senior Bowl's in February, by the way, Michael.
Okay. Equally irritated.
2 weeks after the Super Bowl, I think.
Equally irritated by the results of the UC Barstool poll for best UC athletes of all time. I didn't really pay attention.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to that.
I think the final four the finals were Oscar and Travis. And then Jason and Sandy Koufax, I think, were the other two.
Oscar and Sandy Koufax are so far and away the two best UC. I mean, there's not even a reason to have a poll.
Right.
You have two of the best, and I have no idea how
Sauce made it over Jason, I think, to the finals.
I have no idea how Sandy was in college, but he was a damn good pro. So
right. Let's get to the new heights question of the day. What rule changes would you like to see in the sport of football? And I will preface this by saying I thought Travis had a brilliant one.
Are we talking about college or pro or just because they don't have the same rules?
Yeah, take your pick.
I do not like in college that the clock stops when you get a first down. I think that I don't see why that is like a thing that
needs to happen.
Yeah. Let's see. I understand it, but I do not love the whole fumbling it through the end zone becomes the other team's ball. I
guess the problem there is I just don't know what the other what's the fix?
Put it at the 20-yard line.
So if it's first and goal at the 1 and you fumble it out of
then you lose 19 yards because you shouldn't have done something like that. But you shouldn't lose. Okay. The defense, it's not a turnover. That's the part I don't understand. If I just drop the ball as I'm running, the other team didn't recover. It's not like a fumble that they recover. I don't get why the other team just gets the ball.
Craig says, stop aiding the runner.
I don't mind that. I mean, they have a rule in there that you can't pull them. I think that gets a little hairy. You see plenty of guys getting pulled versus pushed. What were some of yours?
Travis's was fascinating, and I just want your opinion.
Okay.
They're both hockey guys, right?
Sure.
They wanted a penalty box. Like targeting. All right. 1 quarter in the penalty box.
Yeah. That's that brings up, that's probably the number one thing that annoys me the most about college is I don't think you should be ejected for targeting.
Penalty box in football would be phenomenal. Phenomenal.
And like based on like it's just like in hockey where there's like minors and majors and misconducts and
yeah.
You get
well, this started because Travis wanted one fight a game in football. Where the guys drop their helmets and they get to square up.
I don't think that's a great idea.
He's like, teams to be like Mike Tyson, come on out, strap up for one play. As soon as the play's over, you take the helmet off, square up with somebody, get your one fight in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the whole like game misconduct type thing. Like, you get a penalty and you're out, but it kind of then becomes like a targeting rule of like almost an ejection. Like, so you commit a targeting penalty on the first play of the fourth quarter, and now you're out for the rest of the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
I don't love that.
Or maybe it's like the rest of the drive or 2 drives.
Yeah,
I think you could put different stipulations on it to get it right.
Sure. I think, like, for the most part, I think the rules are pretty. There's you end up coming close to like turning certain elements of it into like a sideshow almost of like, you start tinkering with like points and like I don't love the whole like, I mean they've done certain things to try to make the kickoff safer. Eventually they're going to try to take the kickoff out of the game. I don't love that. Like, taking the onside, trying to take the onside kick, I mean, out of the game, it's like, okay, so you score a touchdown and you cut the lead and now you need to get the ball back. You're just not going to be able to get the ball back anymore. Like you're like fundamentally changing how the game is played. Like if you end up doing that type of stuff.
Right. Steven Chenault wants to know if there's also a chip inside the NCAA football. Asking because Aaron probably will want to know. We didn't know there was a chip inside the NFL football.
No.
Until last week when it just happened to come out. How mad do you think the NFL was that got made public?
I mean, they seem to get mad about a lot, so
probably pretty pissed.
Yeah, but it's not as like obviously the knee-jerk reaction was as soon as that was known was like, well then why do we still have the chains and why can't you? Because the data doesn't come instantaneously from the chip to wherever it's going and then able to tell you whether
come on. They do it in tennis in like 3 seconds.
Okay.
You can wait 3 seconds to see the spot of the ball instead of relying on 90-year-old.
Then what are those two old guys going to do that stand there with the chains?
They're going to find a different job.
Job market's
You
tough.
can give them a parabolic mic. You can have them stand there with the parabolic mic. They have to stand in their spots.
Job market's tough right now.
Dave's a hashtag chain gang guy.
I do like the chain gang.
You can still have them out there.
I like when they bring them out there and then it's like so close they got to slide the note card in between. Yeah.
Come on, Dave. Come on. Fake John Goebel says, need to change the targeting rule to a hit rule. If you don't attempt to tackle 15 yards, no ejection, reinforce sound tackling technique.
I just think it's pretty it's pretty obvious when a guy is like literally trying to he's not trying to hurt a player, but like, when you're going to break up a pass or when you're going to make a tackle and bodies are moving at different rates of speed and at different angles and their helmets happen to hit each other, like to me that is just not targeting. Like targeting is I sought out a specific target and I am trying to make contact with that. And I don't understand why the former is an ejectable offense.
She asked if.
Hold on a second. Aaron, can you talk to Dave for a second?
Kelsey.
Dave said Kelsey.
What?
Are you ready for your L on Sunday?
He said, are you ready for your L on Sunday?
Shut up, because we're not losing.
Oh, we're not losing? You're part of the team now?
You're part of the team now? We're not losing? You got a mouse in your pocket?
Yeah.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but yeah, you are.
That's why Joe Burrow is ugly.
4 in a row.
And Travis Kelce's awful.
Aaron said 4 in a row.
He's going to be crying when they lose. Like a little baby.
You're 12. You'll get over it.
Yeah.
Is that your retirement plan, Dave? The chain gang?
Hey, that's a pretty sweet gig. You get to take in like awesome football games on the field. I would love to do that.
It's not Xavier. Get out of here, man.
What?
Skyline. Somebody asked why I had a Xavier shirt on. Skyline.
I would love to be on the chain gang for NFL or major college football games.
Rule change. If you can't decide on a review within 60 seconds, call stands. These 10-minute reviews are stupid.
Yeah, that one.
I like that.
Hey, here's how you fix it. Rule that a shovel pass is a fumble if it hits the ground.
Nobody gives a shit about a shovel pass. What is your fix?
It's not a fumble.
It's a pass.
What does it matter if I throw it overhand or
because
sidehand?
when you have a defender wrapped around your entire torso and you're just getting rid of the ball, it's trash. Make it a fumble.
Tackle the guy's better.
It's stupid.
Wrap his arms.
Yeah.
That's how you alleviate these reviews, though. If shovel passes were automatic fumble.
Aaron's a big anti-shovel pass. He's the only other person I know on earth that cares about shovel passes is Mo Egger because they never work.
Well, I think they don't work when it's teams that Mo is cheering for doing that.
There it is.
But I do think, like, with the review, like if it's not so obvious within a couple minutes that it's a different call than whatever was made on the field, then you should just have to stick with whatever's been called on the field. Right or wrong. Like, you can't take 5 minutes dissecting, every little bit of it. Right. It is a good way to squeeze an extra commercial break in because, God forbid, you have to do that. But
I made this comment. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but there were 4 minutes left in the first half, and it was like an hour from kickoff.
Well, that was the Ravens game too.
I know.
The first 3 quarters of the Ravens game were done in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, well, that's pretty standard it's generally about 45 minutes a quarter. They were on like a half hour a quarter rate in that Bills game.
Yeah, this is so crazy. The Bills had 8 possessions and the Bengals had 7. Do you know how many possessions the Bills had when they played the Dolphins?
12.
16.
Okay. Yeah.
And they had half of that on Sunday.
Yeah. Because the Bengals are just chewing up clock.
Well, the third quarter was ridiculous. The Bills had a 7.5 minute drive and kicked the field goal.
The Bengals had a 6.5 minute
and then the
drive.
Bengals came right back with like a 5-6 minute drive.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mind this one. I kind of like this one. Forward passes have to go past the line of scrimmage or it's a fumble. I don't hate that.
So, like, if you throw a swing pass and it's technically forward, but it's
behind the line of scrimmage, ball's live,
and the guy drops it, then it's live.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
I don't hate it.
Like that's a 3-yard pass. You should be able to complete a 3-yard pass.
Yeah. I do think they should a little bit to Aaron's point, I think is, not on the Mike Hilton hit, but on the Trey Hendrickson sack where he's going down and like just barely flipped his wrist and there was a running back over there, so it's not intentional grounding. Like I think they should get more tight on the whole, like, okay, that was a sack, not a fumble, like you're down because you're, able to stand up, you're clearly just trying to flip it over there to avoid the sack. There was no way you were going to actually complete the pass.
Yeah.
I think they need to go back. They used to call in the grasp a lot more than they do now.
You don't hardly ever see in the grasp anymore.
No.
That used to be like 2 times a game. There was an in the grasp sack.
Yeah, quarterbacks also weren't like 6'5", 245.
That's fair.
When that was happening.
That's fair.
The same size as linebackers.
I would like that rule if we can use the chip in the ball to determine if it passes the line.
Just get the chains out there. Just measure it with a like a yardstick or a tape measure.
Stick. You're ridiculous. You guys got any other questions? Anything else you want to hear from us? Any other UC related stuff? Can we put a chip in the basketball players' shoes? See if they really step out of bounds. Let's put chips fucking everywhere.
Yes.
I'm trying to bug Jason and see if we can maybe work on a guest next week.
Who's Jason?
Kelsey.
Oh.
I know him and Trav aren't going to come on. Like we're past that point. That's not going to happen anymore. But I wonder if we can get Ed, Kelsey. I'd love to hear from their dad. I was thinking about this today as I was like, I have a lot of podcast time now driving around. And the stuff they talk about Ed now, like, it's funny. But if you're Ed, you're like, what are you telling on me for?
Yeah.
I guess he used to have like in his office, he used to belong to something where they tracked alien activity on his home computer, and you would just hear like sonogram sounds coming from their dad's office at all times of the night. And I they talked about the story where they broke his ribs. Like there's a lot of Ed Kelsey stories. I'd love to hear Ed like defend himself. Like I didn't sign up for this, right? Like I didn't sign up to have my entire parenting history played out in the most popular podcasts like on the planet.
There's tweets going around now of some guy at the Loyola Duquesne game.
Yeah, walking on the floor.
Walked out on the floor with like a DoorDash order.
Yeah. That's outstanding. I think they just let him in, like at the media entrance or something. Like,
who do you think ordered it?
I don't know.
Like a guy on the bench?
No, probably somebody like sitting down at like on the floor or something. Would be my guess.
I would love. No, I'm saying that would be great if like one of the players was like,
yeah, like one of the walk-ons.
Yeah,
that would be outstanding. Would be outstanding. Well, if nobody else has got any questions, like I don't. There you go. Who has the best mean mug after a bucket or dunk this year? Hensley and Newman last year. This is important to me. Who are the gritty? I mean, it's got to be Vic, right?
I mean, Justin Berg is the
aficionado here.
He's the grand poobah of the mean mug dunk game. That's for sure. I might have to get him to weigh in. Who is the grittiest player? I would say.
Would that dunk be Landers Nolly against Xavier?
Yeah, probably would be that down the middle of the lane dunk. Yeah, I forgot about that one. I tried to eliminate that. from my memory.
That's
The
one that sticks
grittiest
out to
player.
me.
Is Rob Fennessy the grittiest player?
I mean, it's John Newman, but he hasn't played all year.
Yeah. The two guys that haven't played all year are probably
Yeah.
one and two.
It explains a lot about why this team has, struggled and battled to find an identity all year.
Is Rob close to returning?
Yes. I was not at practice yesterday, but from people I've heard from, he practiced full yesterday. I would guess it's a slow return. A segment in the first half here, a segment in the second half there. You wonder maybe if what we saw was Micah Adams-Woods wearing down a little bit against Memphis, and you could go back to not having to put Dave on the ball as much.
Right.
And if you had a guy like Kendrick Davis cooking you like he did, you can put Rob in to kind of give you a little bit of a different defensive look against said guy. So I would guess it would be a slow return. He hasn't played in
months.
2 months. So do I think he plays Saturday? I think there's a decent chance. And they need more depth, guard, wing, to begin with.
Especially Saturday.
Yeah. And especially if it's somebody that can guard, in case the Sasser gets going or Mark or one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think for Saturday? Let's Dave Betts. What do you think the line will be? Did somebody mention it's 16 on Ken Palm?
On the road, coming off a loss. They are currently up 8 at UCF. I'm going to say 14 and a half.
And you're taking Houston.
If I was in a state that allowed betting on Saturday, I would probably take Houston.
And you can place the bet early, can't you?
No, college basketball lines do not come out until the morning of. Some the night before, but they do not get enough action to require a football line that's out, a week or 5 days before.
Well, and they also play games in the middle of the week, so
right. Yeah,
it makes sense that they don't put the lines out until the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Houston now up 10 with 3:19 to go, so looks like they will bounce back after losing to Temple. Looks like they're other than Tremont Mark, they're having a really good game from the floor. 38 in the first half. They've got 36 already in the second half. So after a clunker on offense where they scored 52 or 54.
And this is why the Memphis game ends up being so disappointing. Is UCF kind of stinks right now.
Right. They're about to be 4-4 in conference.
Right. So if you'd have beaten Memphis, you'd be quite a leg up now for second in the league.
Right.
And now you're about to go to Houston, and you're going to be right back, probably right back.
And then you've got a pretty brutal stretch of games.
That muddled middle.
I mean, outside, once they've got they're at Tulsa after
Tulsa's
Houston.
at home.
Okay, they've got Tulsa at home after Houston. I knew they played Tulsa after Houston. And then you go UCF at home, at Tulane, South Florida at home, at ECU, at UCF, and then Temple at home, at Memphis, SMU at home to close out the season. But this Houston, Tulsa, UCF, at Tulane, South Florida, you've got 3 of those 5 games at home. And really, I mean, if we're being honest, the odds of them winning at Houston, nationally televised game on Saturday, are low. But then you go Tulsa at home, UCF at home, at Tulane, South Florida at home. You got to win those 3 home games.
Well, yeah, that's why the Memphis game was such like a big swing game because it but
You've
it
got a winnable
buys
stretch
you.
coming up after Houston.
Yeah,
All right. I think we've made it an hour
yes.
doing a member chat
Congrats
version.
to us.
We didn't know that we had 15 minutes of content if we were being perfectly honest. But we got there. We crossed the finish line in some way, shape, or form. And I don't have a whole lot else. You? Anything else you want to get to?
No,
Any of these offers you really like, or there's just so many of them?
I have no idea who anybody is in 2024.
Yeah.
No idea.
Especially with the new staff, we're just starting to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, some of these guys, they might have great ties to that high school or that high school head coach, or have a long-standing relationship with that player from when they were at Louisville. So, but we would have no way of knowing that at this point.
Right. Timeline on day within the next couple weeks, I think.
In the next day or day.
The next day or day.
Day to day.
Within the next couple weeks, it sounds like he's getting close to the finish line. But JUCOs, man, it's a whole other world. It's a whole other world in the JUCO land. So I'm tracking it. I've been out in front of that one more than anybody else in the country. So as soon as I hear something, I'll let you know. Update on Kelly. She's got an infection in her colon that they're having some issues with. They're trying to get that sorted out. They did a biopsy today to get some cultures and try to figure out exactly, what it's going on. There was no blockages, nothing crazy when they did the scope. So hopefully that is close to getting on track. She's getting a little better slowly. She spent 18 days pretty much glued to the bed. So hopefully turning a corner, but it's one of those, you're going to take a day or two where the days are good. And then she's going to kind of step back a little bit because she's tired from the 2 days that she exerted a lot of energy. But she's joking around a lot more. She's able to communicate a lot better. She's laughing a little bit. Her oncologist was in tonight right before I left and got a couple laughs out of her. She's been working with the physical therapy people. I can't even express when I walked in yesterday, she was out of the bed sitting in a chair and I almost had to walk out of the room to take a minute because it's hopefully very few of you have had to deal with it. But when the person you love more than life itself can't function for 3 weeks, it fucking sucks, man.
Oh, I'm sure.
It fucking sucks, and it drains every inch of your existence. So to see her sitting up in that chair yesterday, sat down across from her, pulled up a chair. We chatted for a little while. She did about 30 minutes, and then you could see as the 30-minute mark was hitting, she was like, I need to get back in this fucking bed. I need to sleep. But progress is slow, but is hopefully on the other side of the downturn, which was, she's had a lot of downturns. I told her today, I said, this is, I think the worst that we've been through the night of the cardiac event, as they call it, essentially a heart attack. The night of that was terrifying, but then within 2 to 3 days, she had kind of rebounded pretty well, even though they had a lot of questions about what the fuck just happened. But this has been 3 weeks, man. She went into ICU. Tomorrow will be 3 weeks.
It's a minute.
I don't recommend ever being in a situation where you spend 3 weeks in the ICU. But she's getting there, man. She's bouncing back a little bit. They're starting to discuss getting her back up to the oncology floor, getting her out of the ICU, which I think would be a huge boost to her spirits. That's right, Pickle. That's right. I'm glad you're thinking of her. But we're getting there. It's been a hell of a month. Been a hell of a month. All right. Let's get out of here. My voice is about done. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Dave Simone. Thanks to producer extraordinaire Aaron Smith. I'm Chad Brendel. We'll see you next time. It's the BCJ podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.